Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is Daily Drop number 274. Ghislaine Maxwell and her legal team are complaining once again. I know, it's a shock to everybody out there listening that her legal team would again be trying to manipulate and control how things shake out. But here we are. According to Ghislaine Maxwell's legal team, she's under observation by psychologists for several hours a day while she's in her jail cell. My response? Wah. What's wrong, Ghislaine? You don't like to be objectified? You don't like to be held against your will? You don't like people staring at you and observing you and forcing you to do things that you don't like to do? Well, you should have thought about all of that before you and your co-conspirator and co-boss Jeffrey Epstein got involved with this sex trafficking scheme. You should have thought about the repercussions of your actions. But instead, your disgusting black heart and your broken moral compass led you to continue with the abuse, the lies, the deceit, and the destruction of countless innocent lives. So forgive me if I don't give one rip about psychologists observing you like the animal you are. In fact, maybe they should send in Clarice Starling to have a talk with you, because you're as depraved as any one of those people that was on the floor with Hannibal Lecter. Let me tell you, your psyche, absolutely twisted. Anybody who would engage in the things that you would engage in and the things that you are alleged to be part of has no right to make any sort of requests at this point. Read your books, eat your bologna sandwiches, and enjoy being part of the menagerie of prisoners that are doing their time at your facility. Our article today is from CNN.com. The author is Kara Scannell. Headline: Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers say she's being monitored by prison psychologists. Yeah, maybe Dr. Chilton's down there with Clarice Starling, and they're having a nice long talk with Hannibal Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell, the former girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein, co-conspirator, child abuser, all-around scumbag of Jeffrey Epstein, who is accused of grooming and abusing underage girls, is being monitored by jail psychologists for several hours a day without her knowledge, her lawyers said in a court filing. I don't think that the state and the Department of Corrections has to run it by Ghislaine Maxwell before they do anything, okay? She's an inmate. She has whatever rights inmates have, no more, no less. And her complaints and her ceaseless legal wrangling is not going to work out for her this time. The jig is up, Ghislaine. Maxwell's attorney said the former British socialite, child abuser, co-conspirator, all-around scumbag, is isolated under 24-hour video surveillance and subjected to constant observation by multiple guards at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York, the Bureau of Prisons facility where she is being held before trial. And again, I don't care if you're being observed like a zoo animal. You deserve to be, all right? You are everything that is wrong with the criminal justice system. A person of means, a person of power, able to manipulate the system so far to get a non-prosecution agreement that included you. And yet, you think anybody should feel sorry for you because the jig is up and you've been caught and now you're being observed as if you were on display at a zoo? Well, sorry, again. You should have thought about all of this before you engaged in the behavior you engaged in. You had the world in your hand. All of you rich billionaires had the world in your hands. But instead of doing good in the world, instead of using your significant power, your significant wealth for good, you used it to engage in some of the most disgusting bottom barrel crimes known to man. And now you are going to pay for it. In a letter to U.S. District Court Judge Allison Nathan filed late Monday, Maxwell's lawyers say they recently learned that some of these prison guards were in fact BOP psychologists who were observing Miss Maxwell and evaluating her for hours each day without her knowledge. We are aware of no other pretrial detainee receiving such treatment. So it's one size fit all according to Maxwell's lawyers? All inmates should have the same sort of plan for watching them, observing them, and making sure they don't get hurt, or making sure that they're safeguarded to make it to trial? Of course not. There are different levels to this shit. If you are someone like Maxwell, someone where there is deep concern that you could harm yourself, or, let's not forget, folks, be harmed by others, well, you should have a different set of guidelines that the court and the system abides by. But no, these people, Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers, are trying to tell us that they would rather her in general population. That is such BS. If she was put in general pop, it would be the reverse. They would be crying that she should be in the SHU. Why is she on the main line? You know she's greenlit. She can't be down there. She's going to get clipped. So no matter what happened here, no matter what the prosecution did, no matter what the state did, Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers would take an adversarial approach to it. Because again, folks, remember, it's all about throwing as much shit against the wall, hoping some of it sticks. That's what it's all about here. They want to waste time, drag their feet, and, make it a dogfight. That is what these high-profile lawyers do. Do you think that they don't earn their $2,000 an hour? Oh, they do. Maxwell's attorneys have asked the judge to transfer Maxwell into the general jail population as she prepares for her trial, which is scheduled for next July. Maxwell pleaded not guilty to the charges. The judge overseeing the case denied Maxwell's bail after finding her a flight risk. And again, this goes to what I was just saying. No, you're not getting moved to general population. All right? General population is not the kind of place for the run-of-the-mill chomo, child molester. Never mind the high-profile chomo who has millions of dollars, who the second she hits the main line is A, getting abused, beat down, you name it, B, getting extorted for every single dollar that she possibly can be extorted for. What, you don't think all of the girls on her cell block are going to have their canteen filled up? You don't think that commissary is going to be cracking off? That's how jail works, folks. That's how it is. It is the law of the jungle behind bars. It ain't no joke. Ain't no place for somebody like Ghislaine Maxwell, a supposed socialite. She is not built for that life. She ain't built for the main line. When the shot caller makes the call and tells the girls at the facility who are connected to their gang, whichever one it may be, to make their move, believe me, they're going to make their move. So her lawyers, who know damn well how dangerous it is for her on the main line to be attempting to use this BS strategy here, is not going to get over on me, okay? And I'm sure the rest of you out there who have been following the case understand what they're doing as well. There is no chance in hell that these people, Everdell, who is an ex-prosecutor who understands what goes on behind prison walls, wants his client in general population. Unless, of course, he's trying to get her hurt or clipped. The stepped-up security follows Epstein's death last summer while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges at a different federal facility, Manhattan's Metropolitan Correctional Center. The New York City Office of Chief Medical Examiner said Epstein died by suicide. 2 guards were napping and online shopping while they were supposed to be observing Epstein, according to prosecutors, who charged them with filing false records. The guards have pleaded not guilty. Well, wait a minute here, okay? Let's take a step back. Why would they not also mention that this ruling by the chief medical examiner is disputed? This is the legacy media for you folks. This is their narrative, okay? Their narrative is that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide, point blank, period, over and done with, which is mind-boggling to me, considering they say that we can't trust Barr about anything in places like CNN and other outlets, but now they're just sucking down this narrative, hook, line, and sinker? Get it together. Stop with the bipolar act. Maxwell's lawyers have argued that Maxwell has never been diagnosed as suicidal and the current conditions treat her unfairly. Well, just because you have never been diagnosed as suicidal does not mean that you can't have a break, you can't have a mental snap, especially when Ghislaine Maxwell knows that the mountains of evidence that are lined up against her are so incriminating that it would take an act of nothing. There's no way that I could see that she could wiggle off of the hook here. That is how strong the evidence is against Ghislaine Maxwell. And that's just the circumstantial evidence, folks. That's not the mountains of evidence that the prosecutors have. Maxwell has been limited to 30 minutes a month for personal phone calls, compared with 500 minutes given to other inmates awaiting trial, her lawyers said in the letter. She does not have a desk or surface to take notes when she is reviewing evidence for her case and was recently denied access to the jail's commissary, they added. Well, I need to see more about all of that before I have an opinion. Obviously, I think that if other inmates are getting 500 minutes, then she should have 500 minutes as well. I'm not in the whole torture people type deal, okay? One of my biggest problems is the two-tier justice system. I want equal justice for everybody. If the other inmates get 500, she gets 500. Unless, of course, there are other circumstances surrounding it. Then let's see what the Department of Corrections has to say, and then I will make my decision and my opinion. But I think that in the overall picture, I would like to see everybody get the same amount of minutes, etc., etc. Whatever the allocation of minutes is, that's not for me to decide. But I think that every person in there should get the same amount of minutes and should have, the proper tools to defend themselves. Because I know that as disgusting as Maxwell is, and as gross as Maxwell is, if we start getting on board with that kind of justice, it won't be long before the average folk like you and I, who are already under the heel, are getting squished even more. So that's why I'm always so adamant about the two-tier justice system and it being destroyed and crushed, and all of us, no matter who we are, being treated equal under the law. Prosecutors said in a court filing last week that Bureau of Prisons decided against moving Maxwell for reasons including safety, security, and the orderly functioning of the facility. And that's for sure. That's a big deal, right? Moving someone like Maxwell, you're going to have to prepare another facility, make sure security is right, make sure everything is on the up and up, and I am sure there are other steps that must be taken that I'm not even aware of, right? So I can understand why they wouldn't do that, and I can understand why the Department of Corrections is very, very cautious when it comes to Ghislaine Maxwell. Maxwell will be placed into the general population if and when BOP is assured that such placement would not pose a threat to the orderly operation of the institution, prosecutors wrote in the court filing at the time. Basically what they're saying is if they put her in general population, they cannot safeguard her. They can't be with her 24 hours a day. A guard can't be with her 24 hours a day. She's with herself and whoever her cellie is. And Lord knows, do you really want Ghislaine Maxwell in a jail cell with another convicted felon for God knows what crime, who could easily be bought off to hurt her, even if that wasn't the ongoing outlook for her anyway? Just think about that for a minute. these people that we're dealing with, the people that were running Ghislaine Maxwell, this whole blackmail operation, do you think it is so far-fetched that they could reach out to somebody in one of these facilities in general population and get her taken out? It is not that far of a reality, folks. Again, prisons are very dangerous places, and there are a lot of people in prison with nothing to lose. Life sentences with no chance of parole. You're telling me if their people got contacted, their family on the outside got contacted, and somebody said to their family on the outside, look, we're going to give you $100,000. We want you to hurt this person. You think that's out of the realm of possibility to occur? It is not. It most certainly is not. And in fact, it is more common than you would think, stuff like that. Maybe not, a $100,000 bounty, but people getting hurt in prison on requests from people on the outside is most certainly something that occurs. Maxwell's lawyers also renewed their request to be told the identities of the 3 accusers named in the indictment. Prosecutors have objected to the request at this point in the litigation process, citing the privacy of the survivors. Well, yeah, that's kind of a big deal, huh? Safeguarding the identity of these girls who have been victimized over and over and over again and who have come out on the other side as survivors. You're going to try and start the victimization process all over again? Nah, that doesn't sit well with me, and I doubt it sits well with Judge Nathan. So Ghislaine Maxwell's team can continue to wrangle. They can continue to try and jump through loopholes behind the scenes and try and change the narrative in their favor. But the fact of the matter still remains. Ghislaine Maxwell is an inmate, and she will do as the authorities say. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. The link that goes with this episode can be found in the description box as well. All right, folks, we'll be back later on. I hope you all enjoyed your night.